And I don't know if he'll ever get it. At this point, I'm just kind of fed up. There's no getting through to him.
He's like, know your place as a woman. You know, like it's a man's job to take care of things.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Bird 91. We are talking to you guys about Couples Retreat, Season 2, Episode 2. Yes, there's a conversation that's happening at the moment between Nick and Keonna about role reversals, or I should say a change in roles, where Keonna wants to be able to go and find herself, do her work, do her career up, etc., etc. And Nick is not about that life. Now, what's really interesting about this is traditional roles where we play it, he actually is playing the traditional roles. He's paying all the bills. He's doing whatever he needs to do. He's handling the finances. But I keep saying this. We're in a generation now where that's now no longer enough. Paying the bills and she's staying at home is no longer enough because there's an opportunity to do more. Thus, what happens is it becomes very difficult for women to stay in the mother role or the housewife role when there is more that they can do. And this is very important as well to discuss. I won't lie to you. Listen, I keep it a buck and real. Parts of me as a man, maybe that's the misogyny, maybe that's the ego, maybe that's the patriarchy working on my behalf and, infecting the way that I think. Sometimes I think to myself, if he's playing the role, what's the hoopla? If he's playing the traditional role, he's paying all the bills, taking care of the roof of your head, what's the hoopla? And then I begin to think, I also remember as a kid that my dad also said, I pay the bills, I put a roof over your head, and I do this. What's the hoopla? So let's have a real conversation about Nick and Keonna. If you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the up, lows. And for those of you who are returnees, already know what it is, baby, you got the minerals. Before we go any further, let's have a little intro and get the conversation flowing.
Little Black, you know what time it is. Time it is.
Yes, we're talking to you guys about Nick and Keonna, and it's quite interesting, like I said, because I think with Nick and Keonna, what we're seeing is the struggle in revolving roles. We'll hear it here as well, so we can have a little conversation.
Let me do that.
It's hard for me making breakfast. I don't do all that. That's hard for me getting kids up every morning. I don't.
But if people looked at your social media.
Now, I want you to listen to actually what he's really saying. What he's really saying is, it's hard for me to do this thing. No, what he really means is, I don't know how to do it. And one of the things about men that's different from women is that men struggle when they don't know how to do something. They struggle to put themselves in a place where they can be embarrassed or they can be exposed. And that's because of pride and that's because of ego and the way that our society is formed. So oftentimes what you really realize is not that he doesn't want to do it. It is that he does not know how to do it. Therefore, the excuses pile on top to make it seem like I don't know how. How to get the kids up in the morning. I don't know how to get the kids up in the morning. I've never done it before. I don't know how to make breakfast in the morning because I've never done it before. Right? I've never really done it before. I don't know how to take the kids to school. So I've never really done it before. It may seem easy for the woman because this is what the naturally nurturing side pushes them into this space. But because of ego and pride is also linked heavily with males and how they think. And I don't want to hear like, oh, males need to get rid of their ego. It's so easy. If it was that easy, would have done it already. It's not that easy. There is a journey he has to take, but he has to be open first and foremost to that journey. That it is of not knowing how. And the trouble is, the difficulty is a lot of men are not self-aware enough to point out their own flaw. I don't know how to do it. That's why I'm making excuses right now. Because the honest truth is, if he knew how to do it, he would have done it. Stay hydrated, right? If he knew how to do these things, he would have done it. That's why he said, it's hard for me to do it. No, it's not hard. You don't know how to do it. That's why it's hard, I guess. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you don't know how to do it. Right? What's hard is something that you don't really know how to do oftentimes. When you've mastered it, it becomes simple to you. So now he's fighting on a battle with Keonna. One aspect is that he's left for the kids and he's never really had to do it before. The other fight that they're having is the sudden change of roles where the woman goes out to, develop herself, get a career, find herself, whilst he then stays at home. And then the role reversal is really political because that's not what we expect of men. And he also too is trying to find himself again after basketball. Once basketball is done, I have to reinvent myself, and that can be very difficult as well. Process trying to find my place in the world, because once I provide, once I have status, once I have wealth and power, I've achieved the game. I've completed the game. But then the new game says have a family, and when you have a family, what do you do with that family? You provide, you protect, and you be a priest over them. But we don't often talk about the emotional capacity of that role. And again, I always say this too, if he was to not bring in any more money, could she maintain the lifestyle? Probably not. So there has to be this real conversation about what she actually wants and what he really feels, because the two are misaligning. What does she actually want? And what does he feel? And then we need to really talk about as well, how does it make me feel really and truly when you are going to work? Because let me tell you the real truth here is, the going to work or going to career or find yourself isn't the issue. The issue is how I feel about it. I'm scared that if you do go to that place, right, you may get smart, get knowledgeable, get better, and you may leave me. I may fear that you will come to a place where I am no longer needed. Now, someone might say insecure, maybe the first one, but the second one, I want you to understand this. Men need to be needed. So when women say, I don't need a man, all right, cool. You don't need me. I don't need to be around you. And sometimes some actions can look like, not that they are, some actions can look like, I don't need a man. Because remember how the world has told what men are. Men are providers. Now, someone may say that's patriarchy. I would say, no, I think that's even biblical. When we look at the Bible, Adam, his role was he would till the ground. So provider's always been there. It's not been someone that's necessarily patriarchal. But the prison of provision is that when you don't provide, you're seen as less of a man. Now, women can say all they want about, I don't mind, but we have this conversation all the time. 50-50, you're a roommate, right? Because you ain't providing all the things. Suddenly you're a roommate. Disrespect comes in because you're paying 50-50. Let's not get into a buck in here, right? You don't earn a certain amount of money. You can be looked at as less of a man. Therefore, a lot of men's fear is being looked at as less. So what really happening here is, instead of him supporting her, one, he doesn't know how to do it. But two, there's also another component potentially that could come into play, which is the pride and the ego of fear that if she was to grow beyond her current specs, it would make him redundant. It would make him of no use. It would make him old news, because men, their role doesn't change. See, as much as women, are growing and becoming what they're becoming, their role can change, right? You don't provide, you are not a man to a lot of people. If a woman can't have children, only in a culturally traditional role would we say she's not a woman. But the reality is we wouldn't call her not a woman because she hasn't got children. If we see a man who's broke, who hasn't got money, you may say he's a man, but he's not a man. You understand? And so there's that pressure that comes from it. So, and I'm not saying there aren't disadvantages for being a woman. Please, that's not what we're talking about. I want you to hear me clearly. We're not saying there aren't disadvantages of being a woman and the fact that that's patriarchy, misogyny works against you. We're not talking about that. So let's not conflict. I don't want you to conflate the issues. We're just kind of giving a very basic breakdown. So in this case with Nick and Keonna, the role reversal change is very difficult.
And you post our kids all the time. They would think you were such a great father. So for you to sit there and say that you're not this good parent, but people think you are, that doesn't go hand in hand.
And see, right there was conflation. He didn't say he's not a good parent. He said he's not good with the aspects of day. And what he really means, I'm not good with the daily aspects of running the home the same way you do. I'm not good at that. He wasn't necessarily questioning his parenting skills, more of a case of there are certain aspects of that parenting that I'm not so great at. But I also understand her point of view, which is on social media, you post 1 picture, 2 picture, 3 picture of you doing breakfast, and it looks like you're an amazing dad because it looks like you do that every single day, when the reality is you don't. And that's where he has to meet her, because the truth of the matter is, if you do post on social media, posting a picture of you making breakfast, it is going to be perceived, oh, he makes breakfast, he takes the kids to school. Da-da. Meanwhile, you're suffering with the job. You didn't put in the captions, guys, I suffer. You know, I struggle to make breakfast for my kids some days. I'm learning how to be better in that parent. You didn't caption it that way. Right? You captioned it almost probably in a sense of making yourself like this amazing parent. So there is a truth to both of them and a frustration for both of them that I can feel.
If you can...
Now you're saying I'm not a good parent. Now
I
you
did
talk.
not
Now
say
you.
that.
That's what you
I
said.
didn't say
I'm
that.
saying something else.
It may have came off wrong or whatever, but I know he took it out of context, just like...
He did take it a little bit out of context, but you also didn't put it across very well either. You didn't put it well across because you pretty much did say he's a bad parent. You were alluding to the fact he's a bad parent. What you really meant was that you make it seem as if you're such an amazing parent when you're struggling with certain things. And this is why words are so important, language is so important, because you can lose somebody and have an argument simply on one wrong wording coming out. Which is why we try to ask for clarification in a conversation. What did you actually mean by that? Because I, be honest with you, I took that and I took it in offense. So did you really mean that? That's where we need to take time. It's very difficult to do that in an argument because you're already heated. Your emotional activity is raising. You're ready to go. You know what I mean? So yeah, these two are going to have some issues along the way. So we look forward to seeing them in episode 3. We'll have a little bit more of a conversation. But like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button. Let us know your thoughts down below or what you think.
Level black, you know what